Yo, what's up, y'all? Today we're doing something a little different. We're doing a couple of book reviews. These books are based on the world of Final Fantasy VII. I bought these and read these this past summer. It seems like a lifetime ago. I bought it after E3 because of all the hype around Final Fantasy VII Remake. I even played through the game again on the original version, which is the best version, the PlayStation 1 version. I even maxed everyone's stats using sources. It was fun. It took a long time. Not too long, but I really loved it. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It's not overrated. It might disappoint people, but I really hate the word overrated. You should watch that video I made about that word. But anyway, there are two books out there about the extraneous world of Final Fantasy VII. These are side stories. They're not necessarily canonical, but they're not necessarily not canonical either. They could exist. These could actually happen. So these both of these books are based on Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. So it takes place between the game, the end of the game, and the beginning of Advent Children, and some portions take place before and after, but mostly between those two major releases. So let's go from bad to the best. So this one is called Final Fantasy VII, The Kids Are Alright, a Turks Side Story. So as you might be able to assume, it's about the Turks. And it's also not about the Turks. I'll try not to spoil anything. It's mainly about this one boy that's not really a Turk, but then he gets involved with the Turks, and after the events of Final Fantasy VII, all chaos has been let loose upon the world. Even though the world was saved, the world was in shambles, and the world was a mess. As you might be able to surmise, one of the subtitles is "The Kids Are Alright." So it's really a lot about the destruction of war, the consequences of war upon kids. And overall, I would say that this is a weaker of these two books because they make up a lot of new characters that don't appear in the game or the movie. I had to force myself to read through the book, although I did appreciate the book after I was done. It was a slog. I wasn't really interested in it. It was very dark. So if you have played the game or watched the movie, you don't really get a sense of how bad the Turks are, how evil they are, how Machiavellian. But you really get a sense of that in this book. The Turks are really violent, and they're just kind of like Nazis. They just follow orders, whether it's good or not. They have little to no conscience. So that's what bothered me a lot. The story is interesting. There are some plot twists and turns that you might not expect. Overall, if you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII, you really don't need to read this or this book, I would say. I would say just stick with the game. I don't even think Advent Children is necessary. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Not that the game made any sense, but if you're a super fan, if you're obsessed, then I wouldn't say it's money wasted, but it is slightly disappointing. So to the super fans who need a justification, I say it's well written. I don't know about the translation, how accurate it is, but it reads like a normal novel. So there's a lot of dialogue, not a lot of a lot of descriptive language. They try to, describe blades of grass with as many words as possible for no reason. You know how it is, very Tolkien-esque. I don't really like that, but if you like that kind of writing, then this book might be for you. And if you need a reason not to get it, then there are plenty of reasons not to get it. I wouldn't call it canonical, although it could exist in the FF7 universe. And the book is very dark, although the ending is not that dark. So that might leave you happy at the end, but definitely a book for the super fan nerds of FF7. and not for everyone else. This book is called Final Fantasy VII On the Way to a Smile. So as you can tell by the cover itself, it features all the characters, all the heroes from FF7 the game. And this book was a page turner. I didn't have to force myself to read it because it was very interesting. It covered all the different characters. So each hero had his or her own side story. And I really liked the book because it wasn't too long. Each story didn't overstay its welcome, and it added more depth to the characters. Again, it didn't seem very canonical. It just seemed like they went into more depth about each character, tried to flesh his or her own personality out instead of trying to advance the plot, because between the game and the movie, there wasn't too much going on. Of course, there was a few things, but that wasn't the main point of this book. The main point is getting to know each character more fully. If you like the characters, then you'll appreciate how much depth they went into the characters and how they fleshed their personalities out. If you played the game, you can't really tell what the characters are like, although they did have their own side stories within the game. This just goes into even more detail because in the game you can't really know the thoughts. You know, they can only express the words of the characters, but in here, in books, you could write down the thoughts of the characters and you don't have to have dialogue. So you know how in movies, games, and TV shows, they have to advance the plot through dialogue. Of course, sometimes they have thought where someone's not moving his or her lips and an audio clip plays, but usually not. Usually the whole advancement of plot in most media is through a dialogue. So it's nice to see what people are thinking in books. Of course, if you don't care about Final Fantasy VII, you don't need to get these books. But it's good to have a lot of different outlets for fandom, for nerddom. If you played the game a million times, watch the movie a million times. You want more. As a consumer, we want to consume. So these are two more options out there. I wouldn't say they're necessary, but I wouldn't say they were a waste of money or time. I appreciated them, and I look back on my memories of reading them fondly. Well, thank you for joining me on another video. Have a great day.